It was only a schoolmaster to bring them to the Messiah. This is what Paul taught. At first, Peter stood strong against the deviations of Paul. And Peter opposed Paul. But eventually, Paul got the best of Peter. Peter let Paul bully him into submitting to the Pauline doctrine. Peter, being a bishop in Rome, he was under a lot of pressure by the rapidly growing white Christian population. They forced him to conform to the doctrine, the gospel of Paul. Because once the Gentiles became the dominant force within the European churches of Paul, they began to persecute the Messianic Jews. And they even charged them with the heresy of Judaism. Judaizing, they call it. Judaizing. You know, Judaizing, it soon became a code word for uprising, rebellion, Judaizing, rioting, riotous living. The Jews became suspect of uprising, rebelling, Judaizing. They were accused of Judaizing if they refused to worship Yahshua as deity, fully God, fully man. They were accused of Judaizing if they refused to accept the Immaculate Conception, the virgin birth, Mary as the mother of God. They were accused of Judaizing if they refused to believe in the bodily resurrection from the dead of the Messiah, resurrected unto immortality or deity. They were accused of Judaizing if they were caught practicing circumcision. They were accused of Judaizing if they were caught keeping the cleanliness law, the hygiene law, or practicing polygamy, or any of the Hebraic traditions. They were accused of Judaizing if they were caught observing the seventh-day Sabbath and not Sundays. They were accused of Judaizing if they were caught observing Judaic holy days, if they adhered to dietary laws of the Judaic faith, if they were caught advocating in any way the Old Testament Judaic faith. They were charged with the heresy of Judaizing, rebelling, uprising. Paul, with the support of these Gentiles, followers of Rome, who had actually developed into a church militant, the church militant, called the Roman Knights of the Roman Knights of the Christian faith, they called it. The Roman Knights of the Christian faith. They were like your modern day Christian Knights of the Ku Klux Klan. The modern Knights of the Ku Klux Klan was modeled upon the Knights Templars, the Roman Knights of the Christian Empire. These militants from Rome began to put pressure on the Messianic Jews, and many of the Messianic Jews had to flee into Africa and Asia, North Africa and Asia. So Peter, being the bishop of Rome, was forced to comply with Paul. No. Peter could have actually gotten the upper hand of Paul had it not been for the backing of the white folks up in Rome. Yep. Strange as it may sound, the first pope was a black Hebrew Israelite, Paul. Paul was the first pope. Peter, after he finally sold out to Paul and betrayed James, the brother of Joshua, who was the legitimate leader of the movement back up in North Africa, Jerusalem, the Jerusalem church. He was the head of the Jerusalem church, they were at odds with the Church of Rome. But Peter finally submitted. In the end, he submitted to Paul, and he became the second Pope of Rome. And there were other black popes of Rome. There were other black popes of Rome. So the Messianic Jews did not agree with Peter and Paul. They did not agree with Peter and Paul. Paul's claim to be an apostle of the resurrected Messiah was totally rejected by the Messianic Jews of Africa and Asia. Paul and Peter only had the support of the white folks in Rome. The Jesus that Paul taught was a different Jesus, a Yahshua. A totally different Yahshua. There's a difference between the Yahshua of Paul and the Yahshua, the historical Yahshua. Two totally different entities. Two totally different entities. You have the Yahshua of Paul, and you have the Yahshua of Paul is the Yahshua faith, of the Pauline faith, of the Christian faith. And you have the historical Yahshua, who was a prophet. Paul, in order to build up a following and to appeal to the pagan tendencies of the heathen, he created his own Yahshua. He created a Yahshua that would appeal to the heathen masses of pagan Rome. The Gentiles were eager to worship Paul's resurrected Messiah as a deity, as they had always sought to worship demigods. They've always sought out demigods to worship. They just didn't want to be bound by any moral laws. They just didn't want to be bound by any laws at all, any kind of laws. They could accept Paul's messianic deity, Messiah deity, deified deity. They could accept Paul's Yahshua and not have to go through the process of getting circumcised. They didn't have to stop eating roadkill, muskrat, possums, you know, alley cat, wild boar, alligators, snakes. They could continue eating foods sacrificed to idols, demons, and devils. They could still be saved by grace, and they could still eat their bloody raw meat and continue to consider themselves sanctified and holy. They could continue to celebrate pagan holidays and festivals. Paul had so many of these pagans in line to be baptized as Christians that they didn't have time to dump them in the water. They didn't have time to baptize them with full immersion. That's why they came up with the idea of just sprinkling some water over them and letting them join the ranks of the church. They sprinkle them with water, a few drops of water, and let them join the ranks of the church. That's how fast these Gentiles were coming into the Christianity. And Paul had enough sense to know if he told these heathens that they had to get circumcised before they entered into his congregation. If he told them they had to stop eating raw meat, wild boar, and ham sandwiches, he would have gotten few European converts. Because a lot of the Judean followers of Paul, they started leaving. That was the controversy that I'm talking about. That's what you read about when you read in the Bible of Timothy complaining about them falling away from the church. That's talking about the black Jews who were leaving Paul's churches. They were leaving Paul's churches. These black Jews, they were leaving the churches of Europe and joining with the assemblies, the Messianic assemblies of North Africa and Asia. That's the falling away that you read about. And that falling away is a good thing. That falling away is a good thing. Because if you're reading these narratives, these gospels from a Gentile perspective, without any historical analysis, you can't see that this falling away. You can't see that it was in fact a good thing for them to be leaving the Pauline churches, the Pauline Euro-Gentile churches, of which Timothy is a member. It was a good thing, the falling away. The falling away is not always a falling away from it's not a falling away necessarily from the true Judaic Messianic faith, but it's a falling away from Babylon. It's a coming out of Babylon. When you read in 1 Timothy chapter 14 verses 1 through 4 of people leaving Paul's Euro-Gentile churches, black Jews leaving Christianity and returning to the pure sanctified Messianic Judaic faith, brothers and sisters, I'm here to tell you that is a good thing.